Welcome to Bookings and Bottles, the podcast for travel professionals who want a little bit more than just bookings. They want a little bit of wine and a lot of wisdom. I'm Simone Snedorf, and I'm your host. I have a deep love for the industry, and we're talking about different types of people in different industries that relate to the travel industry. So if you're in travel in South Africa, this is for you. Today, I'm joined by Hex. He is the founder of Zandeo, and he's on a mission to build family financial freedom, focusing on making complex money conversations simple and accessible for parents by parents. He has a deep passion for family financial education, but also has a love for things like mountain biking adventures, finding ways to travel well without a massive price tag. Recently, he's hit a significant milestone in the tech space, successfully building a curriculum constrained AI infrastructure and a fully automated Claude co-work workflow that is already sparking interest. I've invited him here to share some of his wisdom with us today. Hex, welcome to the conversation.
Thanks, Simone. Excited to be here.
I'm so excited to have you on my podcast. I know that it's been a while that we've been talking about this, but I'm just so excited for the world to meet you because you are awesome. And I just want the world to see how awesome you are.
And so I really enjoyed your session on processes and workflows. And it was really from there that we started talking about my history in the South African Navy and the use of AI in a startup. So yeah, really happy and excited to be here.
Amazing. And I'd love to get to know you a little bit. This is a question I love to ask people. And it's basically what is something that you are currently passionate about?
Well, I mean, you mentioned both things already. So family financial education. I've been paying my kids allowance since they were 5. I've spoken to every parent and more I've got deeper and deeper into it. And this year I started Zandeo with the curriculum constrained AI model. It's now the time to build an AI. And I've taken behavioral psychology, youth entrepreneurship, and AI education engagement and put it into this curriculum. And I've got a couple of families testing, and I'm speaking to a couple of fintechs and banks, and super excited for the future. It's that experiential learning that's really important. Okay. And then the other thing is mini adventures. And it's something that I think sometimes is underrated. Like if you look at the travel industry in South Africa, more and more, it's becoming very glamorous, very expensive, very big. And I guess I don't see enough about mini adventures or something that you can do in a weekend or a day or maybe just an hour or two. And I really, really enjoy, for me, that's mountain biking with my family or my kids. And I really love getting to know my kids, friends, parents as well, doing stuff together as little groups. And as my kids grow up, I want to understand their social context and know their friends' parents. And that's something that I really love, mini adventures. If you go on YouTube and you Google MTB mini adventures, you'll see 4 videos of me and my kids.
Yeah.
On rides around.
That's so adorable. I love that. And first, if we spoke about 2 things, and you kind of led into my next question. So I just wanted to speak about the experiential learning and some of the benefits of these kinds of behaviors for people and their families. Could you give me some insights on that?
My son Alejandro was saving for a wetsuit. He saved for it for 9 months. He was 9 years old at the time. That's quite a long goal for a 9-year-old to save for. But if you start a little bit smaller and you get a little bit of guidance on, how to structure it, you can really stretch your child's savings horizon. So if you start with something short that they don't lose interest, but long enough that they need to make hard choices. But in that process, Alejandro asked me, he wanted to take money out of a savings account. And that's very typical. And that's the problem is that, parents, even me, who's I've made this my job, I didn't want him to do that. I didn't want him to make that mistake, but it's actually very important that they do make mistakes like that. I see experiential learning and the way I embed Zandeo in financial institutions is in that moment. When the parent gets that request, it's not an approval decline. It's actually a question. What should I do? Should I allow this? Oh, this is the 3rd time that your daughter is asked to take funds out. Maybe this time now. Or this is the 1st time that your son has asked and they've got a little bit of stretch on the saving horizon. Maybe yes. Maybe it's, putting in weekly lessons, and before your child gets their allowance paid, they have to complete the weekly lesson. So it's up to them to make sure that they complete the lessons, and it's in their interest to do it. Or it could be in a way that, if my kids want a little bit of extra pocket money, I say to them, let's find a problem that I have that you can solve and let's figure out how to pay it. And, that's how you build entrepreneurship mindsets and stuff like that. So experiential learning is really, it's not about the newsletter and you read along with whatever someone is writing at that moment. It's about like in that moment that you're experiencing the challenge, having the ability to speak to a specialist model, not a generalist model, because a generalist model like ChatGPT, you have to give it a lot of context and it's trained generally on the internet. It's not specialist in the field, but a specialist model can answer those questions for you and help you.
I love that you're saying it. You have to allow kids to make mistakes to also learn from that. And you're speaking about building entrepreneurs. Absolutely. That is exactly what it is to be an entrepreneur, is to welcome mistakes, to understand that it's still going to be part of the process. It's the issues that families do have when it comes to finance in terms of being uneducated and not able to help.
Is a strong word. And it's not your fault either. It's felt like I had to get an MBA before I felt confident enough to talk to my children about money. And it's a lack of confidence, really. It's like, how can you teach something that you were never taught yourself, right? Even if your kids bring home homework, I'm super happy to do some subjects, but like then some subjects I'll ask Vicky's like, you do this. I'll stick to the maths and science. You do the creative and language.
And thank you for the correction. When I say uneducated, my dad was an upholsterer. He was like an artist at his trade. We never spoke about money. It's more about a conversation and having confidence than having an MBA to talk about it.
Yeah.
Thank you
And,
for
and
that.
it's also an important part of specialist model. What Zandeo does, and because I'm sensitive to this because I've written this model that very carefully doesn't allow people to feel confident about it. I mean, the mere fact you might have that question and that you ask it, it's ironically easier to ask it to an AI model than a human being. You feel like the human being is judging you. Duolingo has great research on this. Duolingo is literally judging you and giving you a score, but you feel less judged asking the owl. And the same, it's just like making you feel comfortable about asking a question. And I mean, you'll be surprised how many people, like when you ask your question, you'll be surprised to hear that it's common questions, yeah.
And I think it's not just about finance. I think in general, when you're an adult and you try and ask questions, it's always an intimidating thing to do because sometimes you're like, maybe I'm supposed to know this, or it's also about the type of environment that you're in. And so I definitely 100% am more open to asking an AI. And
two things that's maybe not that unique to South Africa, but in South Africa it's very common that parents don't necessarily haven't learned the subjects in the same language that the children are learning. So my kids, for example, are going to school in an English school because that's the closest school to us, but I learned math in Afrikaans, and neither of those is my first language. So now if I'm doing math and I'm really good with math, I'm actually really good with it. And when I look at it, I don't understand it because it's the wrong language. Like, I can very comfortably, just if you have a question in your own home language, it can understand and answer back.
absolutely.
The other thing I thought about is what I see a lot is there's a lot of homeschooling networks and parents that enjoy traveling with their families or with their children and having some kind of tech-based education platform is really helpful. So in the case of financial management, doesn't always necessarily get taught at schools. Having that ability to travel and move around and be able to engage, even if you're traveling, you can still engage with your family, traveling for work, traveling for pleasure. You can still engage with your family via tech platforms.
It's amazing. And I like that you're talking about travel because that leads into what you mentioned earlier, which is, in general, I asked you what is a bottle, something that's missing in South Africa, and you've already answered that question where you speak about these mini adventures. And I just, I wanted to highlight something is that local travel contributes a lot more to the GDP than we actually think. It was very surprising because most travel agencies are focusing on international travel. I love what you're speaking about is these mini adventures. And in my previous episode, we were also almost speaking about the magic of Cape Town, which is these local holes in the wall, like, that you find by yourself.
If I can tie together my two passions. So it happened naturally. I went to my brother's house in the Eastern Cape, and he took us on this bike ride for 3 hours into the Titicaca forest, and the kids loved it. And now all of a sudden, okay, cool, let's do this. All hobbies are expensive. You have to buy stuff in all hobbies. Let's buy a good bicycle for each of you. Let's see how much it costs. Let's see how much it'll take you to save there. And those are actually quite complex things to work out for yourself if you've never done it. I mean, Zandeo facilitates that. But like figuring out how much I would contribute, how long they would save, and let's get the next bicycle, the next size and stuff. And I managed to roll those two nicely together. So we're now like the kids. It's interesting. The stuff that they've bought, they take care of. Bicycles, when I say let's wash our bikes, they want to, because they know it's expensive to replace parts. It's expensive to fix that tire that Alejandro loves skidding on tar on. Or, he bought that wetsuit. I mean, I've never told him how to take care of it. He just comes home, he turns it inside out, he washes it down. And I mean, like, there are so many cool opportunities at most places. It's just like figure out what's relatively easy for you, what your kids enjoy, what you enjoy doing together. And
if they're going to spend the money and invest and save up, they're going to understand the value of that. And that's really such powerful lessons that you are giving your kids.
A podcast that I listened to, but the guy said this thing, I'm working so hard for this perfect life. If you think about like what you have right now, can you enjoy it? Or what does that perfect life look like? And I think like, okay, what does the perfect life look like? Oh, it's this house with a big tree, with a tree house. Okay, why do I want those things? Oh, because I want to spend time with the children, playing in the tree house and maybe sleeping over in the tree house. Okay, can I do that right now? Do I have to sacrifice this moment to attain that, where I can actually also enjoy this moment? What is it right now that I can change? To improve that moment. And I mean, it can be as simple as like, I did it with the kids. We put the sleeping bags in the garage the one night and we camped out there instead of the treehouse.
Create your own experiences. And I really appreciate what you're saying. Steve Jobs said, oh, I wish that I actually had slowed down in the process and actually enjoyed the ride. And it's something I say to myself quite often, but then sometimes you need to be reminded. And I really like that you're saying is, what do I have now that I can create the things that I want in my life? And I think you've got such an interesting background, and I've been dying to speak to you about the Navy. As I heard that you were in the Navy, I was like, oh my word, cool guy alert. and, and when I meet people who have something interesting, I really want to try and get the experience or the knowledge that they have had from these types of experiences. I always ask them about the 80-20 rule. Is what has taken you all the years that you were in the Navy that is now 20% that you can kind of give us? It's like the ways of thinking that have become second nature. I'd love to hear about anything, any mindsets that you have brought out of the Navy into the real world. Any experiences, if you want to speak about that.
Years ago, we had an exercise that we had to do, which was something we hadn't done in a while. And everyone knows what to do, and it's fine, and we'll do it. But I still felt I don't feel comfortable. I'm overall in charge. I don't need to do all the work, but I want to understand. And so, firstly, just like in the military, it doesn't have to be in the military. Not everyone in the military at a very young age, you get pushed to various limits, and you feel very confident with your own abilities. And I feel very confident with what I don't know. So I said, okay, well, let's actually walk this through step by step. And we sat around the table, and we call that tabletop tactics, TTT. I was sit around the table and everyone, okay, these are literally life and death situations. We're transferring people over from one ship to another over the ocean in the rough sea. But let's talk this through step by step by step. When I feel a little bit out of my depth, I'll ask Claude, walk through the file with me and explain section by section what's happening, so that I have an understanding. Then I know what it's doing. When I was 22, I was the divisional officer of a division of 50 people, and my immediate subordinate was my mother's age. And my operations officer gave me great advice, and she said, just because I'm the manager doesn't mean that I know everything. And I don't have to play the leader. You've got leaders in your division, and you've got people in your division who are specialists. Lean on them. Ask them. They know that I don't know as much as they do. Trying to hide that makes it worse. So feeling confident with what I'm supposed to do and my ability and asking questions and allowing people to shine for themselves and giving them that shine actually has always paid dividends in stuff that doesn't translate well. It's like when you try and take a model and you force it onto something else. I used to tactics and procedures like TTPs and what are the tactics and procedures for this? And I'm from the military and I'm cool. That type of language actually didn't translate very well. And it took me a time to figure out I should stop saying this and I should use procedures that company used. The thing I appreciate the most about the Navy is the way I was pushed to various limits and what I learned about myself. You can learn the same through hardships, through working really hard, through having a really good boss or a really bad boss. What I learned about myself in the Navy was really valuable, and I appreciate that.
I liked when you spoke about the tabletop tactics. When you do that, you understand that there's a start, a middle, and an end. You are a leader because a leader is someone who allows people to shine. You can't know everything. Your circle of competence can only be so big. And by leveraging people, being a good leader, that's how you get places.
What I thought about now is battle rhythm. When I go riding with my kids, I give them a command. This is the command aim, and because they fight, they argue constantly. There's 6 children, everyone wants to be in front. So I give them a whistle with a yellow band. I tell them, you're the leader, and everyone's going to have a turn. Amazing. They listen to each other, the guy with the yellow whistle. But this is the command aim. This is what we're trying to achieve. For your part, you're going to get the kids there. I don't care how you get them there. You can ride through the forest or you can ride on the pathway. You find the best way. And the same with the team, but you've got these regular check-ins where it's like, okay, we're going here and we're going here and we're going here. And it's like a cone of the future. Like, you know where you are right now. You've got an aim, which can be vaguish. You don't want a too big aim because then it's like so many things you can go for. You don't want a singular aim because that's difficult to achieve. And as you go into the future, you're moving into uncertainty, but creating certainty. And a battle rhythm helps you sort of have those regular touch points. And that's what I actually have written into my weekly reports is that battle rhythm. Like on a week Thursday, I ask my AI that uses Claude, review my week, tell me what I still need to do Friday, give me an accountability score, and then we set up the schedule for next week. And I've got like the overarching aim that I've got my strategic emails that I send to the team on a monthly and 2 monthly basis. That weekly battle rhythm allows me to check in. And as I'm gathering people around me, it's a startup. So, I've got 2 people that are working with me. But as we start gathering, I don't want to tell them what to do, but I want to have a rhythm and an aim and objectives and a rhythm that we can do together. I want you to start Monday. You know what you need to do. We've discussed it on Thursday. But on Tuesday, we're going to check in and see, like, do you need anything from me? Do I need anything from you? Let's see how the week is going. On Thursday, we write our reviews, our reports. We touch base and say, okay, cool, we're on track for next week, or we've got things that have slipped. Let's see how the week shapes up.
That links very well to the next conversation because what you're speaking about is a very adaptive workflow, which takes in consideration things that you have done and haven't done. We're not robots and we can't predict, maybe I had a meeting today, but it has to cancel. It's not a consistent world. It's a volatile, uncertain, complex, ambiguous world.
Yes.
And I know that you've fully automated Claude Cowork for the workflow for Zandeo. And that's amazing again. Well done. For travel pros, I think in general, they feel like they're drowning in a lot of admin. You've already mentioned some of the benefits of having an AI coworker. I'd love to discuss any of the other benefits.
So I've been doing technical work for a large part of my life. The last 4 years, I've been working with AI very deeply the last year. And there is so much that I can't even touch, I can't even get to. It's this total FOMO. I mean, I want to learn every time someone posts something on a technical group. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so behind. And that's not the right way to think about it. I mean, like, even if me and tech feels like that, I mean, like, that's a normal feeling. What I found is like, I learn the thing that I need to solve. So I've got this problem. I can find a solution for it. And I think I can figure it out. Like building that website and that flow took me 13 hours in total. And that's 2 days of work. If you're not already in AI, that might take you a little bit longer. Just learning AI for AI's sake can be tricky if you don't know how to apply it. Then maybe you're learning the right thing, or, I don't know. I think of a problem that you have that you think AI can solve, and just ask it in plain language. How can I solve this? Just be careful. They might think you're a developer and say like, oh, this is so easy. Or they might think that you're not using AI to code and tell you that it'll take 5 weeks, where it does actually only take 5 days or less. But yeah, look for a problem that you have, and try and solve that. And the smaller the problem, the better, is really the way to get into it.
That is such a powerful line. Learn the thing I need to solve, like that. And I really think it's so important for travel agents or anyone in any industry, but we're just talking about travel, I always see a problem as a gift. I always say it's the power of a problem, because if you have an addiction or anything like that, you're not going to address that problem. You're going to think it's other things and the byproducts of this. So when you're first taking the step to identify problems, you are already on the right path to solve the problem by identifying and knowing what you're doing. It's such a simplistic way to kind of calm a lot of people who are so overwhelmed of where to start with AI. And you've just made it so simple to say, start with the problem. So for travel pros and a lot of different people, we normally have finances in a spreadsheet paired with notes, paired with invoices, and so many different other things. And as we've seen in this podcast, you are making it a conversation. And I've already learned more in this conversation about finance than I have in a long time. And it's really given me the confidence to start speaking about this and start approaching this in a different way. We've spoken a bit about this, but I'd love to hear, what are the benefits of talking about this to breaking the debt of overspending via conversation?
The benefit of talking about this stuff is like realizing that, like, often you're not alone. I like oversharing. Very, very often someone will come on the side and say, yeah, thank you for saying that. I'm also going through the same thing. Or like they'll come with advice, like being able to talk about whatever your challenge is, whatever your problem is really, really valuable and helpful for you, but for those around you as well. So yeah, it's valuable talking about those problems. Claude Cowork is an amazing tool, but you need to have the Pro subscription, and only works on a Mac. But the Claude Code works on the phone, and it's essentially the same. And it just opens in a folder. So if you've got your spreadsheets and your invoices and email drafts in a folder, and you can connect via Claude's connector into your email or your calendar, you can ask it to read in that folder and say, like, to Claude, Claude Code and Claude Code is exactly the same tool. It's just made less techy in Claude Cowork, but you can do exactly the same in Claude Code. Open it in that folder and please review my spreadsheets, and don't try and think of over technical the question. Just like speak to it as you would a human. It's like, have a look at my spreadsheets and my invoices, and what do I need to do about this? Or can you write me an invoice for this? Or can you write an email to chase this? Once you start doing it, you'll see how relatively easy it is.
We're being educated every day as we learn along the way all the time. It's always about learning. We'll never stop learning. I wanted to also speak about, potentially you had some advice just to leave some of the parents that we have on this show. And basically is, what is one thing that parents should avoid doing with their kids to break the cycles?
Yeah, thanks. That's really important. Try and be open and honest with your kids. It's there can be two times when it's difficult, or maybe not the best idea to do it: when you are stressed, or when they're asking you a difficult question, which is often the same time, because they can smell that stress. And I know they can get away with stuff when they ask you in a moment where you're not always willing to think about the answer. But a tool like Zandeo is not helpful in that moment because you are stressed. Try and just be honest, or say, like, let's talk about this later. Don't try and answer maybe in that moment. You can go back to Zandeo and ask the question, and how could I handle this? How could I speak about it? A good example is like, if Christina asks me on Sunday morning, can I get an ice cream? And I say, I don't have money. And then 1 hour later go and do shopping. What I actually should have said is, I only have 1,000 Rand left in my bank account, and that's for the weekly groceries. That might not be the answer you might feel comfortable with. Be careful about the message. Don't be afraid to go back and like correct yourself. This is what I said. I actually think I meant this. I'm not sure. I don't think your kids expect you to know all the answers. You don't want to sound unconfident in front of them all the time, but I think just being honest is the best way. to handle these conversations, being open and honest. Zandeo is specifically built to be able to handle, to help you in those moments. Zandeo is built to be able to answer questions like that. It knows about you because it's got context if you've got you in the database. And the answers are supposed to be supportive as well. And the Zandeo target market is the family unit. They're looking at supporting the child and the parent within that unit, whatever that family unit composition might be. I truly believe if you are not sure how to ask a question, go ask Zandeo, how do I handle this conversation? And it'll give you a straightforward way to do it, always easily approachable and understandable. And it's about telling you what's the financial part there, encouraging you to do it, doing the behavioral psychology lifting, doing the financial, the AI. Talking about it is important. I mean, like if you're just listening to this and thinking about it and thinking this, yeah, that's brilliant. It's important to talk about money. It's important to be honest about it. And it's important to understand also that it's not just the numbers. It's not just finance. It's psychology as well. Interpersonal relationships. It's feelings. And those can be negative or positive. And those things get transferred to your kids as well. For better or worse. For better or worse, we share all those things and we have them. If you understand it, I mean, that's even better. If you understand it, then you can build forward from there.
Thank you. That leads to my next question that I was, kind of asking is who Zandeo is for, which you've answered lovely. The question was, how can this help people? What does it look like? And you have mentioned a lot of the outcomes of this, but was there anything else that you thought of as we're closing off?
If you go to the website, it's zandeo-ai.com. It's got a join waitlist. I've got a couple of friends and family testing the website. The AI is there. You can chat with it. When the database and author's up, I'll send you an email and then you can join. It's at the moment, because it's experiential learning, the biggest impact
I will put all the links in this episode and on social media. So I'll have your website, I'll have your LinkedIn, I'll have anything. If anyone wants to get hold of you, they can reach out to you.
My cell phone number is on the website as well. If people want to speak to me about it, cool, give me a call. I'm happy to talk about it.
Lovely.
I just wanted to end with a question. Why did the grape go to the restaurant? Because it wanted to enjoy some vine dining.
Thank you very much for the dad
I was
joke.
thinking about what joke, and I thought that's like relevant to bookings and bottles. It's like
It
one of
really
those little Food Levels market cards that I put in my kids' lunch boxes.
That is so adorable. You're such a dad. It's so amazing.
I really had.
Thank you so much, Hex. Thank you for your time. This has been such a privilege to talk to you and really get to know you and hear your different insights. On behalf of my listeners, they'd definitely love to see you back soon. So thank you so much.
Thank you. And I really enjoyed this. Thanks, Simone. Goodbye.
Thanks, Hex. Thanks to my listeners. I'm so happy to be on this journey and sharing it with you. Be safe and have fun.